Of course I am.
I'd say one day, right, it's just one of me at the moment, but one day there'll be a whole squadron. It'll be like Planet of the Apes.
Oh my god, and you don't actually need anyone else to sort of like breed, do you?
Exactly. We can just reproduce as we are. It'll be like Planet of the Apes, right? There'll be sort of a Charlton Heston figure.
Planet of the Squids.
It'll crash land.
Get your damn dirty tentacle off me.
It'll crash land. Yeah, exactly. And there'll just be loads of me crawling around.
Yeah.
All identical. Chasing him on horseback.
And they see like Bristol Temple meet, and they go, "Oh my God, they blew it up!"
Yeah,
it's back in Bristol with all your. Oh no!
Incredible.
There must be an organisation of volunteers or something who, if it's like touch and go, if it's really serious, if you're like clinically depressed about it, and you really can't get a woman, they don't want just people turning up who can get girls and saying, "Oh, I fancy," you know. But in your case, you know, they'll speak to you, they'll see you, and I think, you know, there must be some sort of national health thing or private where you can actually sleep with, I don't know, a voluntary worker. You know what I mean?
So?
Well, yeah, there's people that, yeah, I know, but there's people that, I don't know, volunteer for geriatric duty, you know, and they're exploding all over the place. They're covered in the stuff, right? There's people that work on leper colonies, right, for, you know, for nothing. There must be someone who will sleep with you out of sympathy. You don't want that. Of course you don't. You don't want that, do you?
Well, let's not be hasty, Rick. I mean, these people, especially if they need some sort of free publicity, you know, get a bit of, you know, sort of press and media attention, I ought to sort of help to publicise their campaign, really.
There's probably an organisation that go, you know, when they go off to, like, just strange climes and go on to, like, leper islands and that, and they work with them. Or they can sleep with you. Now, that's got to do the lepers some good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Wouldn't that be terrible if that was the option, right? And suddenly, volunteers to leper colonies doubled.
It was like going to Torremolinos.
Yeah.
Let me on the bus. Sorry, there's no room on the bus, but you're at the back there.
Yeah.
Going, well, then here we go.
Here I am then.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I signed up for the lepers.
Yeah.
Licking their wounds. Well, sorry, but
geriatric duty.
Yeah,
scraping
it out.
Oh dear. Oh, you know, I heard a song in the week, right? I've heard it before. It's by Ween, and it goes, "Push little daisies and make them come up." And I don't know what it's called. 0171 580 2000. I don't know where to look. Push the little daisies and make them come up. It's like that. It is.
It's rubbish.
I've been going around singing that.
There's no song with that lyric.
It's like that. It goes, "Push the little daisies and make them come up."
Shut up.
Yeah.
Shut up.
That's what my friends have been saying for the last 4 days.
God, you're really irritating me today.
Like, people will go and go, "If you'll be mine," oh, but not too annoying. But, after about 10 times you go, "Oh, can you sing something else?" But when you've heard, "Push your little diggies and make them come
Shut up
up,"
now.
you can get really annoyed.
Yes,
it really
can,
can't it?
Shut up.
Okay, Wanna Die is you and me song. Push your little
Shut up.
Yeah, we've done funny phone calls, haven't we?
We've done some funny phone calls.
Did that one like Pinky, when we phoned up Safeway and said, "Have you got some cheese?" And they said yes. And we showed them, didn't we?
That showed them.
Yeah.
Oh, we've done some crazy crank calls.
Yeah.
Do you want some beer?
Do you want some beer?
Brilliant game.
5 o'clock foreigner.
5 o'clock foreigner.
Yeah.
Oh, what else have we done? There's been just too much, hasn't there?
The alarm frog.
The alarm frog.
That never got off the ground, did it?
Got going. There's some great ideas.
Tip the balance, that's the last one I've got.
Tip the balance? You haven't explained it.
It's my last, I think it's a little bit in bad taste.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't want that on this show.
No, I mean, I think it's a little bit much.
Really? Is it too much? Is it the most outrageous thing you've ever...
Well, okay, well, no, this is an idea, right?
It's a board game.
It's a board game. I'll send it off to Waddington's when I'll get, you know. It's 4 simple weights, sort of just like fulcrum weights, you know, like scales.
Like a little seesaw?
Yeah, a little seesaw. And there's one end is like a bowl, right? The other end is like a kilogram weight.
Right.
And there's 4 of those, so 4 of you sit round, and you've got to quite simply tip the balance, right?
So you've got to fill the bowl?
Fill the bowl, yeah.
What, with rice or...
No.
Household object?
No, bodily secretions.
Right.
So it's the first, you know...
Maybe you shouldn't tell us about this.
Well, no, because there's simple rules. Anything that comes out your body is all right, okay? In every form.
Right.
Well, you know...
Anything that comes out of your body, you put that into the bowl and sort of tip the balance.
So, I was thinking, if I said it quieter, it wasn't so bad. I was going to go, it's piss. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Doesn't work right. Snot. Sick.
Yeah. It's fun.
Well, I was going to say cum, because then I could be spelling it C-O-M-E. Therefore, getting by some of the radio authorities rather sneakily. And spunk, as you said, is like courage, isn't it?
Exactly.
Like in the Waltons, they go, "Oh, look, I love your new girlfriend, John Boy. She's full of spunk." Yeah, sorry about that.
Well,
I've been carried away, Dad.
Good night, John Boy.
Yeah.
John Boy. Good night.
Right, here's the Cure. We'll come back to this. Cure, Charlotte sometimes, 20 to 6, Ricky Gervais show.
And
Steve.
what have we offered today? Well, we've offered Tip the Balance, the new board game from Waddington's, which involves secreting various bodily fluids
Yeah.
into a bowl
Yeah.
in order to tip the balance.
Yeah, and then what you do, you go, tip the balance. I can just imagine the front cover with sort of Granny, she's stooped. Yeah, she's just like...
She's got trousers down.
Yeah.
She's just... And
She's missed it. She's missed it completely. They're all laughing.
And
'cause she's
the family are there behind her, they're clapping and cheering.
The mother just laughing, doing a dustman's blow.
Yeah.
Right. And the 14-year-old boy, he's got... right, okay.
Well, he's enjoyed it the most, let's be honest. But what about if you know that bingo is the most popular evening pastime in the country, and there are these huge bingo palaces.
Yeah, that's because
with
they haven't tipped the
thousands
balance,
of
yeah.
seats.
Yeah.
Imagine if they were all playing Tip the Balance.
We crack the smell.
Oh, it'd be incredible.
Oh, God.
That'd be fantastic.
That'd be great. You could have winner stays on.
Yeah.
Because you'd have a disadvantage then, wouldn't you? Well, I've just... I mean...
I imagine in Japan they've already got a TV show like that, I'd imagine.
A kilogram's a lot, though, to get rid of.
Yeah, you've got to have a
Isn't it?
lot of sputum.
I know, everything, yeah.
But I think it's a great idea. Could you give birth into the bowl?
Yeah, well, no. Well, you could, but anything you put in there, you lose. So
Oh,
you'd have to
right.
be willing to, yeah. Like, you can't, you could bleed into it and amputate into it, but you can't have it back. Like, you couldn't put a false limb in.
Right.
Because you bleed it there, because that, you know, so that's sort of cheating.
Yeah.
But there is a thing called the fish card, where if you're all out of it, right, you're strained out, and you've vomited and snotted, and that's it, right, and everyone's got, like, you know, 0.8 kilograms in theirs, you can go fish card, right, and you can take someone else's bowl and pour it into yours, but you got to pour it via your mouth.
Right.
So you take a big glug of that, and then you do it, and you win the left leg.
You've also had
everybody would applaud and they would be excited, and he comes out on stage, he's wearing a jacket, and he would look at the crowd, and in a English accent, obviously fake English accent, he would pull out a book, and it would be The Great Gatsby,
Good day, Governor.
and he would begin to read from The Great Gatsby. And at first, kind of like we've talked about, people would laugh, and then they get angry.
Yep, and then they start rumbling and booing.
And he would respond to the crowd in character, stop it, you know, and blah, 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 blah.
I would say if you don't quiet down, I shall put on the record.
At which point
what
they
he
would
said.
go bananas because, yes, it's gonna be Mighty Mouse. And he would finally give in, and he would play the record, which was him reading the Great Gatsby.
Yeah.
Oh God, this man is my soulmate.
Which
That's all I can say.
is hilarious and is great. But if that was all that he had done and this entire legend was based upon that, that would be a weak foundation. But it's not. Because there's other things. There's a guy who in 1979, the guy's name is Alan Abel. Abel faked his own death. I think he was at a ski resort and he faked a heart attack, and like the paramedics showed up and they hauled him away and all this stuff. And these were all people that he had set up to come in.
Oh, by the way, Alan Abel was the guy that founded the Society to Clothe Naked Animals.
Yes.
So obviously a good sense of humor.
Yes, no, he was a giant hoaxer. He was known for hoaxes, but he does this, and he does such a good job that the New York Times runs an obituary for him.
So good.
The next day, he comes out and tells everybody that he's fine and that the tales of his death have been grandly overstated and something, something, something.
Yeah. So,
Kaufman watches all of this and loves it and pesters Abel about how did he pull it off, what details did he need, you know, just trying to get every detail to the point that Abel didn't like him because he was a pest. He kept bugging him for details on how he did it and annoyed the crap out of him.
by the way, did Abel ever render an opinion on whether Andy was dead or not?
Nothing I know of.
No.
I read a few things from him, but nothing was ever related to the Kaufman alive versus dead conspiracy. He never actually seems to have spoken to it. Let's talk about, there's an album that came out relatively recently. It was 2013.
Yeah.
It's called Andy and His Grandma.
Yes.
Who was it that helped narrate
Bill Hader.
Bill Hader? Okay.
He's my favorite.
This is a series of conversations that Kaufman had recorded on the phone, unbeknownst to people. So he's talking to his friends, his business partners. Bob Zamuda is one of the people that's on it, specifically on the track we're talking about. He's also talking to some ladies of the night that he knows, which is in the beginning of that track, which is really awkward.
The one who wants the blank tape.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
In the I Want Those Tapes track, he and Bob talk for, I guess, like 2.5, 3 minutes, maybe 4, about, well, what if I faked my death, and how would they go about it? How long could they pull it off for? These things, like he talked about it there. So he not only had been talking about it with trying to get the information from Abel, now he's talking to Bob, and they're kind of fleshing it out, at least in this one recording that we know of, if not other conversations. We're now going to move from that, so we got those 2 bits there. We're now going to go to the over-the-top character for Andy Kaufman. We briefly mentioned him before when Joe and I were talking, which is Tony Clifton.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting character.
I love the description that I have worked up of Tony Clifton. Tony Clifton is Andy Kaufman's foul-mouthed, big-jowled, booze-drinking, giant sunglass and black toupee-wearing, terrible-singing lounge singer.
Yeah, he was like kind of like a really bad Elvis.
He was a terrible
Yeah,
Elvis.
yeah.
He drank, he smoked, he ate red meat, he badgered audiences, he was crude and foul to everybody. The Clifton character was the exact opposite of Andy Kaufman, whereas Andy Kaufman's, like, his foreman was meek and mild and very polite. Clifton was the opposite.
Yeah, he was. Andy Kaufman was really a very good actor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, particularly when you look at the pictures, just physically. I mean, he seemed to have made himself into a different person.
He did. He had a big gun. The Clifton character would wear a suit with the ruffle front shirt, and he had giant Elvis glasses
And he did
on.
have jowls, and Andy didn't really have those jowls.
No, those were definitely. What is it? You know.
Mutton chop?
No, he had the mutton chops, but then he had the prosthetic,
They were
Oh,
the
okay.
fake chin and everything, make it look fat.
I was trying to figure out if you were looking for the specific, like, latex prosthetics or just...
Latex. That was the word I was looking for. No, he did this stuff, and one of the this is one of those things. So the Clifton character had been around for a long time, and when Kaufman got picked up on Taxi, he worked into his contract that Tony Clifton could be on the show 4 times as Tony Clifton in random episodes, which would also not have the Latka character on them. In other words, Andy Kaufman's known character on them. And the studio agreed to this request. It sounds like they didn't know who Clifton was. He was evidently made out to be some
Yeah.
great lounge act.
Yeah, they probably thought, it's Andy Kaufman. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Except that
it wasn't great.
he showed up and he was such a monumental ass to everybody, to the point that the security showed up and they
God.
escorted him off of the studio lot and told him he could never come back again.
Well-
and then all of the other appearances that bit of the contract was cut and scrubbed.
Yeah, so it's like Tony Clifton can't come back. Latka can.
Right, because
basically.
I think that at least in the beginning, they didn't realize that Clifton was Kaufman. They didn't get it. They didn't know. It sounds like Shapiro probably knew, but the studio didn't understand it. So eventually, though, people do figure it out. They're like, wait a sec.
Wait.
It's funny. Andy's never around when
never seen them together,
when
huh?
Tony's around. So what he did is he got Bob Zamuda to get good enough at the character that suddenly the two could show up at the same time and they'd show up on stage together.
Yeah, and that way Andy could say, hey,
It's not me.
Yeah.
This guy's, I think he's great, but it's not me. Again, one of those things that he took it so far and he worked so hard. But here's the thing about the Clifton angle. There's a movie script, I think it was written in 1980, and Bob Zamuda and Andy Kaufman write it, and it's called The Tony Clifton Story. Now, this thing's hard to read. Did either of you...
I didn't actually find a
I
copy
didn't.
of the script.
Yeah.
Okay,
But,
I
yeah.
found a copy of it, and it's effing weird. I've read scripts before, not a lot of them, but I've read scripts. This thing was so far into left field. If somebody had converted it to Microsoft Word, and it was 124 pages of absurdity where Clifton is the star character and Kaufman discovers him and all of this weird stuff happens and evidently Andy Kaufman was pretty excited about the idea of breaking the fourth wall. Either you guys heard of the fourth wall?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
When you
Okay, I'm just asking because I have to ask these things. But
yeah, it's when you look out the TV screen to your audience and then you speak to them.
right, because
It's the Frank Underwood effect.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
It's not, frankly, it's theater, so it's before TV.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing was, what Kaufman liked to do is he liked to try to break the fourth wall and then twist things to bring the viewer even farther in and reestablish the fourth wall. Like he did these weird twists and turns. That's not the big thing about this script. The script is weird.
Yeah.
What happens, though, very suspiciously in this script, is Tony Clifton dies of cancer
Where did he die at?
in Cedar Sinai. Exactly the place that Andy Kaufman dies 4 years later of cancer.
But
Lung cancer.
here's my question about
Lung
this script.
cancer actually doesn't show up in the script.
Oh,
It's unspecified cancer.
Yeah, but my question about the script is that do we actually know for 100% certainty that the script was written by Andy before Andy died?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I cannot validate that because the copies that I
That's
found
what I was
were all
wondering about.
converted copies. So it could be that at one point somebody made it up.
Or it
and-
could be that Tony and Bob actually did write a script, but somebody else did a little editing to it.
Oh, Andy and Bob, you mean?
What did I say?
Tony.
No, Tony Clifton
Yeah,
is a
that's
character,
right,
not a
right.
real person.
Yeah, now Tony
not-
got together to write a movie about Andy Kaufman.
Actually, Andy Kaufman is the character. Tony's the real guy.
Yeah, that could be.
No, I thank you for bringing that up because I was going to bring that up. I have no way to know that that's true. No way to know that.
Yeah, but that is another little bit of evidence that he might have faked it.
Okay, we have one more big thing that we have to talk about.
Yeah.
Which is the big one. Would you call it the coup de grace? Would that's not the right one.
It's not, but it's okay.
Not the coup de grace, but this is one of his greatest gags.
Ever.
That's I was trying to think of his best thing ever.
And this is one of his great characters. He plays, he's playing himself, but
But a little different.
But yeah, a jerk.
Right.
Yeah.
So here's what happens.
He's the green bastard.
In 1979, Kaufman comes up with, as we said, maybe his greatest break ever, which is wrestling. He shows up on Saturday Night Live. It's his 9th appearance. By the way, remember guys, 1979, SNL is tiny. It's a tiny studio. Itsy bitsy thing. And he shows up in thermal underwear with black trunks on over the top, saying that he is the world intergender wrestling champion and that he will pay $500 to any woman who can beat him at wrestling in 3 minutes or less. And at that point proceeds to just make fun of women's lib and just generally be a chauvinist jerk.
That was great.
It's
pretty funny.
It's funny because in retrospect we know it's a gag.
Right.
And it's really funny, but it really pisses some people off. And lo and behold, some lady gets into the ring with him. By the way, she's a plant. And he beats her in under 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's great to watch this interview of him where he's bragging about, I just totally kick their asses every time.
I like when he does the whole, I don't think women are dumb. I think women are really great at, cooking and ironing and
Raising the baby.
and raising a baby. I think they're really good at all of that stuff.
He's hitting hot buttons because
It
this
is.
is the women's lib movement.
Yeah, and this is early 80s.
And he's just poking fun and hitting all the right spots. And over the course, that wasn't his first time to wrestle a woman in the ring in this character. And he does this character as himself, as Andy Kaufman. Over the course of 4 years, he wrestles over 400 women across the country. And in the beginning, pretty clear that most of those women were plants. But later on, he took it far enough. He started just he would pull 5 women out of the crowd. He would have the crowd vote on which one they wanted him to wrestle, which means they wanted to pick the biggest, baddest lady of the bunch.
Oh, yeah.
And then he would wrestle her, and he would win. He would wrestle them, and it was so absurd, and he kept taking this intergender wrestling champion thing farther and farther, and over 4 years, he pissed off almost every woman in the country because a lot of people thought he was being serious. Because, again, as we talked about, he never broke character.
Yeah, and he was willing to take it, just go on and on and on with these gags.
Yeah, and so he starts moving this gag into Memphis, Tennessee. And he starts mocking women as he had been, but then he starts also mocking the people of Memphis. And a local wrestler by the name of Jerry the King Lawler takes notice.
Gets a little involved.
Gets upset and starts exchanging words with Kaufman, at which point Kaufman starts ripping on Lawler and Memphis. He's sending videotapes. This is the age of videotapes. He's sending videotapes telling the people of Memphis how to use soap, calling it the redneck capital of the world. I'm not going to imitate him, but he does so many outlandish, over-the-top things. And he's of course saying, well, whatever, Jerry Lawler, I don't wrestle women. I wrestle men. I wrestle women because I'm the intergender champion.
Right.
Except that there's a time where suddenly Lawler shows up and they get into it, and he agrees to wrestle him, and he gets him into the ring.
And of course, this whole thing was a setup from the very beginning.
Yeah. Lawler's in, so we're going to spoil it. Lawler's, I guess it's not really spoil it, most people know this. Lawler's in on it from the beginning. And he and Kaufman would sit around and work out the lines and how the gag was going to go. So what happened, Lawler and he finally agree to wrestle. They get in the ring, and Kaufman runs around the ring in circles away from Lawler until Lawler eventually catches him and appears to knock the snot out of him and then deliver 2 pile drivers in a row.
You may not know what a pile driver is.
That's where you pick somebody up so their feet are straight up in the air, their head is pointed at the ground, you jump, the wrestler who is holding the upside down person lands on their butt, and the person who is upside down lands on their head.
Yeah.
It's a pile. You're driving their head into the ground, and
Right.
he does 2 in a row.
It looks painful. I'm sure Lawler was a professional, so
Lawler's totally a pro.
I'm sure he knew how to do it without actually hurting.
Yeah.
Without
I'm sure they
hurting.
had practiced it.
Yeah.
I'm sure, but
Anyway, so Kaufman injures his neck.
Kaufman,
Quote, unquote.
Yeah, he's on the ground. He's flailing. He's flipping around, and the paramedics show up, and they haul Andy out of the ring on a stretcher. I was telling you two earlier that I'd read stuff from Lawler that talked about, or somebody was talking about, Lawler was prancing around the ring, all excited because he was playing his part of winning, and Kaufman is laying on the ground, trying not to move his mouth so that nobody gets it, going, "Call an ambulance!" And Lawler's going, "No way, that's gonna cost like $250. I'll pay it. Call the ambulance. It'll be great for the gag." Which it was, because then people really believed it.
Mm-hmm.
Kaufman is then seen running around, screaming about Lawler in a neck brace for months and months. And 6 months later, they go on TV. They
trade insults.
was it
on the
5 or
Letterman
6
show?
months later?
It was like August.
Yeah, they're trading insults via videotape back